Hello everyone, I am Surbhi Mittal working as Senior Software Developer in Walmart Global Tech. I am here to share our experience with async API specification. As we all know that Open API specification is not new and using it to describe the synchronous REST API is now almost a habit. But how many of us really have standard specifications for asynchronous use cases? Are they even really covered in our governance at all? Our industry comprises of various kinds of frameworks, implementation solutions. Within this web of wide ecosystem, event-driven systems have established their prominent existence. As a result of which, we have to think more on the lines of documenting the async APIs just in the same manner as we do it for synchronous APIs. Our goal should be to create a standard way of dealing with the event-driven architectures across one's organization. But before moving into how we can write an async API specification, let's first talk about why do we really need one. When the why is clear, the how will become easier. As you can see in the given slide, it shows the initial months of a system when it was in its development phase. This system initially just had 3 producers and 3 consumers consuming the messages being produced in the event bus. Such a system is very straightforward and easy to manage. Eventually, the system started growing and it attracted few more consumers. Still, we really don't find any need to document the async APIs. The system is still pretty much manageable. Fair enough. Now, this is what happened eventually. The system started growing even more, and the number of interactions also started growing. There are more services publishing the messages to the event bus and more consumers who are consuming these messages. Now it becomes impossible to tell what are the possible number and combination of interactions existing in our system. Now, if any producer who is publishing messages to a particular channel, for example, to a particular Kafka topic, wants to know who all are consuming the messages, producer got no answer at all. As a result of which, if any producer wants to make a slight change in the message schema, a change can be as small as changing a key in the message payload, it will end up creating a new topic, as changing the existing topic could potentially cause issues with some other consumers. This can eventually lead to more and more Kafka topics, even though few of them might not be consumed at all. The second drawback is the onboarding time increases because of lack of any documentation. Producers and consumers are maintained by different teams, and it is needed to maintain broker configurations, channel information, and event formats in a central place. Otherwise, maintaining the solution will become a nightmare in the long run. In such a situation, we have what is known as async API specification at our rescue. Now, coming to the reason why we in Walmart adopted async API specifications, a similar thing happened to few of our teams within Walmart. The current slide is depicting one of such use cases where our service change stream was built on event-driven architecture. Change stream was polling multiple databases and it was publishing these changes to the Kafka topics. The problem we faced was we had around 15 services communicating with each other with more than 20 to 30 types of messages with different payloads, and not everyone knew what's inside. So whenever we are debugging something or adding some new key to the payload or making any change to the payload, we would have to contact to the developer who has already worked on it or go and check the code ourselves what's inside it. It was a total mess. Nobody knew anything. We created Confluence pages, we created README files, but all of this used to get outdated every time. So we came into a position where we had no single source of truth for all the services running in our system. And eventually we decided to adopt async API specification to solve these issues for us. Async APIs are consumed extensively within Walmart Global Tech. We have an enterprise level product named API Hub, which is a web-based API design studio, which was primarily but not exclusively built to support the design first REST API development. It provides a way for users to collaboratively and visually design their APIs prior to the implementation. In the slide, as you can see under the API tracker, async APIs are used extensively within multiple teams in Walmart. Hence, looking at such a large scale of async APIs in Walmart Global Tech, we are working on giving support to the async APIs on the API Hub. Now let's call out some of the major problems that async API specification solved for us. Discovering of events and event-driven APIs became easier. If an internal developer wanted to know what this event does, or what this channel is subscribed to, or what protocol does it use, he or she can refer to the specification to get all this information. And hence, it also increases the reusability of the async APIs. Visibility and discoverability also enhance the productivity of the consumers. Then governance. Managing security, access management, and validation of APIs and brokers became much more simpler for us. Let me also give you a small overview of where all you can use the async API specification. With the async API specification, we can describe any event-driven architecture, IoT APIs, streaming APIs like Twitter APIs, Quora APIs, etc. We can practically describe any system that is based on messages. Async API does not enforce any protocol. It is protocol agnostic, and it provides a support for quite a good number of protocols in today's date, including AMQP, Kafka, WebSocket, MQTT, JMS, and many more. Now let's move on to the different components in an async API specification. Async API is very similar to OAS. The difference is that it is for event-driven APIs. Using the specification, the developers across the world can speak about what their event-driven system actually does. Now let's get into the mini quick start and see how this specification works. Here is a sample from the specification which we created for our change stream use case in Walmart. I have broken down the specification into 3 basic parts. On the left side, as you can see, sits the reusable building block of your specification, the components. Once you describe your components, you can reuse them in your API or across the APIs. The message tag defines the structure of your event. Next we have is the servers tag. This is where you define your brokers. We have added our Kafka clusters over here. We can also define which protocol are we using. So here, as you can see, we have mentioned Kafka as change stream was using Kafka. Then finally, we have the channels. The channel section of the specification specifies mediums where messages flow through. The channel is something which your app subscribes to or publishes to. We are using the messages tag here, under which we are referencing the component retail correction, which is describing the structure of the event getting published to. Another important thing that I would explicitly call out is that ChangeStream API is a publisher and it's not a consumer. But in our specification, we have mentioned subscribe tag instead of publish. We too had this confusion when we were exploring the async API specification. But the reason behind this is we create an API definition to tell how it will behave for the consumer of that API. In my opinion, it is like ordering our consumers what to do next. If you are creating an API that publishes the messages to the consumer, then you are telling the consumer that they should subscribe to it. So in short, any specification is written for the users of that API, as in for the other party who will going to use the API. Apart from these basic components of an async API, there are some custom extensions that we are using in our specifications throughout Walmart. I would like to talk about some of the major ones. To start with, first is the X-Walmart-channel-prefix, which is kept as mandatory in our specifications. It defines the prefix used in the channel names. We validate this value against each of the channel names defined in the specification. Second is X-Walmart-channel-separator, which defines the character being used as the separator in the channel name. Apart from the value mentioned in this tag, no other character can be used as a separator in the channel names. These two tags are enforcing standardized naming conventions to our channel names. Then comes X-Walmart-channel metadata. If we are using Kafka as the protocol, it's mandatory to mention this tag, which basically defines some of the crucial information about the channel. This information might be important for any consumer. For example, we have defined the partitions in the topic, the replication factor, and the retention days. Another one is X-Walmart-consumers. It defines the entire list of all the consumers. It is not a mandatory tag. And the reason why it has not been kept as mandatory because some of the APIs are consumed externally by hundreds or thousands of consumers, And practically, it is very difficult to accommodate such a huge list in a single specification file. But yes, it is a good to have tag. Then comes x-walmart-business-doc. We recommend to have all the business related details of our API like domain, overview, summary, SLAs, and services. We can also add markdown in each of these, which any tooling system can understand and helps in enhancing the readability. Now, after knowing how can we create an async API specification, we also need a mechanism to validate if the specification created so far is as per the rules defined by our organization or not. For that, we have come up with a huge list of rules which are async API, which our async API specification should follow. To do so, we have leveraged Async API Validator, which is an open source tool. This tool uses AVJ package for validation of messages before the messages get published to event bus. We have created our own async API linter on top of this, which validates if the specification abides by its rules or not. As you can see in this slide, I've listed down some of the many rules that this linter actually provides. Now I'll show you the actual demo using this linter where I'll talk about these rules in details. So as you can see, this is the code base of the async API linter, which has been built on top of async API validator. The file changestream.yaml is the async API specification that has been created for our publisher application, which is changestream. Now, as a part of the demo, I'm going to run the async API linter on top of the changestream file that we have created. So it will actually tell us whether this file abides by the rules and regulations of the linter or not. So let me run the linter. Okay. So after running the linter on top of this changestream.yaml file, as we can see, it actually gives us a list of some of the errors and some of the warnings. So let me walk you through these errors and warnings one by one. So the first error that it's saying is that x-walmart-channel prefix is must. So as I explained in the slide also, this is a tag which is important to have in our specification file. Now let's say that I give the value of this prefix as CS. So CS here stands for changestream. Now I'll just rerun the linter to see whether the error has gone or not. Now the error is gone, but instead of that, there are two other errors that have come. And the error clearly says that channel has invalid prefix and the channel name is this. So if I go to the channel list, I see here there are two channels or two Kafka topics, I should say, which has a different prefix other than CS. So I'll just go and replace this CDC with CS. Then there is another error which is clearly saying that x-walmart-channel-separator is must. So this is another tag which is mandatory. So I'll just put a / as the value in this tag. The other error is channel name cannot have trailing / and the channel name that is having a trailing / is CDC Retail Correction US. The only reason why a trailing / is should not be there in any of the channel name is that some of the toolings actually replace the trailing / with protocol specific notation. For example, some of the tools replace this / by a dot if we are using AMQP as a protocol. So I'll just go here and I'll remove this trailing / from the channel name. Then there is another error which is x-walmart-topic metadata is must if you are using Kafka as protocol. So as you can see that we are using Kafka as protocol, so we actually need to have this metadata. So I have already stored it here in my file. I'll just simply go and put it over here. So we have put the topic metadata as well. Now this is a list of warnings that we can simply ignore for now. I'll come to this at the end. There is another error which clearly says that contact tag is must under the info tag. No matter how perfectly you have created your specification file, it is very likely that the consumers of your application will get stuck somewhere or the other, and then they will need a point of contact to reach out to. As a result of which we have kept the contact as mandatory in our specification file. I'll give the name under this contact. Then the last error is that says server URL tag containing unwanted keywords, and the server name is also listed here. So if I go to the servers tag in the development stage, if you see, the URL is something dummy URL that we have provided. So there is actually a huge list of words that we have whitelisted, and no stage, or I should say no URL in any of these stages can have those whitelisted keywords. So I'll just replace this dummy URL with the actual URL so that this error also gets rectified. Now let me run the linter again on top of this file. Okay, so now we can see that a lot of errors have gone, but again some new errors have come. Now to start with, the first error says channel has invalid separator. So there are two channels actually, CS Retail Correction US, CS Retail Correction Canada. So these two channels actually have invalid separator. So if you see here, the separator that we used in our tag was a /, but here a hyphen is there. So we need to remove this hyphen and replace it with a /. Then another error is saying that name, URL, and email are must in the contact tag. So in the contact tag, I just mentioned the name, but it's saying that email, I'll just give some dummy email as well as the URL are mandatory. Some URL I'll give again, which is dummy only, something, yeah. Now again, I'll run the linter and let's see what is the result. So all the errors have been rectified and all we are left with is a list of warnings. So if you see here, this warning clearly states that operation ID and its description are good to have within channel. So operation ID is something, there are various tools available in the market that actually reads this machine readable async specification file and creates the code on the fly. And this operation ID tag is actually used to, give the method names or the class names in your code. So it's actually good to have the operation ID along with a small description with each of the channel. So this was it from the demo side. Now, these are some of the references which we explicitly wanted to mention, as these resources really helped us out in our journey of adopting async API specification. Thank you so much.